today's episode, we're going to talk about, what should we call it, rider placement, group riding, because it kind of goes hand in hand. So let's talk about those. I see people do this all the time, okay, and just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you the places that I see people riding, which is wrong. Look it up. You don't believe me? Look it up. Some people like to ride right here in the middle of the lane. The problem with riding right here in the middle of the lane is, if you see where we're at, we're in the middle of the lane, obviously, but who else is in the middle of the lane? We touched on this in the rain section. Okay? The cars are in the middle of the lane. Their wheels straddle the center of the middle of the lane. So their engine and everything else is in the center of the lane, which means when they have an oil leak or a coolant leak or a transmission fluid leak or anything along those lines, that oil and everything else is going right down there to the middle of the lane. If you look on roads, if it's bad enough, you'll see spots like you see. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but you can see that darker patch that runs down the middle of the road. That is because that's where the oil is. And all the other crap that'll screw your tires up, you know, it's not good. Okay? Another place I see people ride is over here, on the right side of the lane. Particularly, they like to try and do this in a group and start the pack by riding like this. This is also incorrect. This right here puts you in the most blind spots of the drivers of the four-wheel or multiple-wheel vehicles, we'll call them, okay? We'll call them MWVs, multiple-wheel vehicles. But there's a perfect example. Look straight up ahead. You can see when I was talking about the center of the road. You see that dark patch running right up the middle of the road? That's not just something that magically happens, okay? But anyways, going back to riding on the right side of the lane, which is over here, you put yourself in the blind spot of all these other vehicles, okay? You don't want to be in the blind spot of all these other vehicles. You want to be where they're going to see you. We're small enough. People miss us every day. Why make it easier for them to miss you? Okay? You ride in the left side of the lane. The reason for this is the driver of the vehicle. Now, if you're over in Europe, that's a different story. I can see, you know, riding on the right side of the lane because you guys drive on the wrong side of the road. And try and tell me I'm wrong, but only 3% of the world's population drives on that side of the road, so you guys are wrong. But you're on the driver's side of the vehicle, which is the left side, or over in the UK, the wrong side. So you're the place that you're most typically going to look behind you in a multiple wheeled vehicle or MWV is out of the mirror closest to you, which is your left-hand mirror for the drivers. Okay, and obviously I'm going to stop pointing over to Europe. Just if you can't figure out to flip it for your country, then just don't get on a bike, because if flipping something like that takes too much brain power, then you're screwed when it comes to two wheels. You're going to look naturally to your left mirror because it's the closest to you. So this helps be a little bit more visible. With The right side, you hardly ever look at that mirror unless you're changing lanes or something of that nature. And you have the rest of that car behind you, you know, the whole cab of the vehicle, that blinds you from everything in that general vicinity. So you want to ride on the left-hand side of the lane. So this way you're a little bit more visible. You're where people are going to naturally look. You're out of the oil spot, and you don't have so much of a blind spot blocking you. Same goes for group rides. Now, am I saying everybody in the group ride to the left-hand side of the lane? No. You stagger. Okay. Now, yes, sometimes people go too wide, 2 by 2, and that's fine. I mean, if you trust the people you're riding with, because that's what you got to do in that kind of situation, because they're that close to you. They've got to be able, you got to be able to trust that they're not going to do something stupid or have an issue and get you hurt, which if you're up close towards the front of the pack, that could cause everybody to go. If you're in the middle of the pack, that causes the back half, you know, and so on. You stagger. The leader of the pack is in the front, obviously, on the left-hand side of the lane. This makes him more visible, therefore making the rest of the pack more visible. The second person staggers to the right side of the lane, back about a car length. You know, but again, at higher speeds, things should change, because at higher speeds, things happen quicker. Okay? So the faster you're going, the farther back you should stagger, or the more you should stagger. Okay? And then the person, oh, there's somebody on the side of the road. Let's see if he's all right. This goes back to episode 1, the code. You good?
Yeah, good. How you doing? All right?
I just saw a bike on the side of the road, thought I'd check.
Yeah, man. Just got to fix my helmet.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, man. You take care. Okay, now back to what I was saying. You stagger, so the first person, second person, third person, and it keeps doing that all the way back. So the first person is in the front on the left, second person is a little bit back on the right, the third person is a little bit back from them on the left, and it just goes back and forth all the way back. Okay, now there are some roles that different positions in the group ride hold. Okay, you've got the leader, who is obviously leading the pack. They hopefully know where they're going. And then you have them also setting the pace. Okay, it's generally a good idea to put the slower rider up front, because then there's less chance they're going to get left behind. But in a situation where that's not happening, you put your leader will set the pace. He's also acting as the lookout, so if there's obstructions in the road and so on, it can be passed down the line so it doesn't interfere with other riders. Now, person about midway back through the pack is kind of He's kind of like the marshal. He's keeping an eye on the front of the pack and the back of the pack. He can communicate if you have communications with the leader of the pack, or when you stop, he can communicate, or whatever. He's kind of helping set the pace, but he's also acting as the actual middleman in between the front, the leader, and the tail. Okay. Then your tail rider, he's kind of making sure that stragglers aren't getting left back. He's setting the pace, and or not really setting the pace, but he's helping the rest of the bikes as sort of a blocker, if you will, because when you see, good etiquette for the tail rider to pick up would be if you see the pack trying to change lanes. Now, I'm not saying make yourself unsafe, not by any means, but if you have the opportunity and you see them trying to change lanes, to help it go smoother and kind of keep everybody together, the person in the back, if it's safe, can look in the lane, and if safe, can merge over into that lane ahead of everybody else that's trying to, and keep the pace at what it is, which will also help keep the vehicles in that lane back off the other riders. If you're in the back position, which I think honestly the back I prefer to ride, because it's kind of, I don't know, maybe it's just my mentality or whatever, but it's kind of like a guardian position, because if I'm in the back and we merge and I notice a car up behind me that's getting awful close to the back of the other bikes or to myself, I'm going to back down, meaning I'm going to let off the throttle and slow down, and I'm going to use myself as a buffer to keep him away from the rest of the pack. Okay, if I slow down enough, maybe he'll get the hint and go around. If not, then I just ride back a little bit slower than everybody else till we can get clear of the idiot. Okay, that's always, I mean, that's just the way I see it and the way I think it should be. You're out there as a group, ride as a group, everybody should go together, everybody should come back together, so on. So that's the basics of it. There's not really much to it, okay? It's just remembering where you should be, and then you get idiots like that where you're doing the speed limit and they want to ride way back, and then out of nowhere they want to get right up on you again and then kind of prevent you from changing lanes. That's a good reason to keep your bike in a lower gear or higher RPMs, because it gives you that'll be a different video. But yeah, that's the gist of group riding / lane placement, where you should be and where you want to be. I am not an expert by any means in any of this. I have, however, been riding for over 20 years, have been in several group rides, and I've been down, because there's only two kinds of riders, the ones that have been down and the ones that haven't been down yet. But yeah, that's the gist of it. Okay, remember, left of the lane if you're by yourself, left of the lane if you're the leader of the pack, second person in the right of the lane a little back, third person left of the lane a little back, so on. Okay, stay out of the right side of the lane, stay out of the middle of the lane. You don't want to be in those places. Okay, they're just not, it's not good. So we're going to call that a video, because I feel these are getting kind of long, so please bear with me. If these videos get a little long, I'm sticking on the topic for the entire video, and it's worth listening to. I mean, again, I'm not an expert. I have been riding a long time. I kind of know what I'm doing. And yeah, so thanks for watching. See you guys again. Keep an eye out for the next video, which I don't even know what that's going to be, because there's so many topics on this that I can discuss, and I'm going to get to them. If you guys have one that you want to hear me discuss, mention it in the comments and we'll go from there. I'm also going to put all these into a list, so people can go and watch, you know, just the whole series in like a list. But yeah, see you.